Hello, everyone, and welcome to the online presentation of the Swiss Creative Tech Startups Report 2024, dedicated to the dynamic Swiss creative tech ecosystem and its enablers. This is made possible thanks to the partnership between Fuelarts and the Zurich Centre for Creative Economies at the Zurich University of the Arts. This joint initiatives of our parties in particular include conducting research to serve both academic and market needs in the creative economy sector, enhancing educational methods, implementing promising business models, and many more. And our first joint endeavor, the Swiss Creative Tech Startups Report 2024, that we are presenting today, showcases educational initiatives, venture support, partnership opportunities across the 26 amazing cantons of Switzerland. My name is Denis Belkevich. I'm the co-founder and general partner at Fuelarts. And joining me today is Christoph Weckerle, director of the Zurich Centre for Creative Economies at the Zurich University of the Arts. Hello, Christoph. The stage is yours.
Yeah. Hello, Denis. Thank you very much for this kind introduction. Very warm welcome to the people watching the presentation of the report also from my side. I know that we have guests from three different continents. So let me say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. More than 20 years ago, the predecessor institution of the Zurich Centre for Creative Economies published the first Swiss Cultural Industries report. This approach, which was completely new at the time, was awarded the Swiss Design Prize. This was the starting point for a series of impactful initiatives in Switzerland and abroad over years. The Zurich Centre for Creative Economies is currently in such a phase of development again. The focus is increasingly on transversal dimensions. So we tested approaches such as the nighttime economy or, supported by funding from Horizon Europe, skill-based approaches. Due to the intensive dialogue with Fuelarts over the past few months, 24 will have its own creative tech focus. For the first time, we are analyzing in this country the interfaces between technology, creative industries, and investment. Thank you, Denis, and your team at Fuelarts. It was and still is an inspiring experience. I would also like to thank the ZCCE team and the people in our national and international networks who have encouraged and supported us in this initiative. Through our dialogue, it has become increasingly clear to us why creative tech is a relevant topic for Switzerland. Last but not least, I would like to thank the many people at the Zurich University of the Arts who contributed to the success of the report and supported us, as well as our founding partner, the Zürcher Kantonalbank. Let me say that we see this first report as a substantial contribution to outlining the creative tech ecosystem in Switzerland. Further reports and initiatives will follow and will lead to a robust argument. This is from my side, Denis.
Thank you, Christoph. And as a confirmation of your words, we have a note from Rakinda. He's watching us from Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you. And yes, so we have just uploaded the link for the direct download of the report under our live stream. So please feel free to ask questions, also writing your questions under the stream. We'll be happy to reply to them in our Q&A mode, which will be after our hopefully short presentation. So let's move forward. Although by early 2024, Fuelarts had released 5 reports on investments in the art tech ecosystem, including a niche report on creative tech in Miami. The proposal by Zurich Centre for Creative Economies to create a joint report on Switzerland was both great responsibility and significant challenge. We were familiar with the excellence of the previous center's reports, so we knew that our collaboration had to exceed our own past efforts. And we are profoundly grateful to the Zurich Centre for Creative Economies and its team for their trust, support, encouragement, and their invaluable scientific and personal contributions to our collective endeavor. Our deepest thanks to everyone who contributed to this report, our investors, partners, mentors, advisors, the creative tech community, of course, our market colleagues and friends. A special thanks to the speakers and guests of our interviews who generously shared their invaluable experiences, and to all the Swiss startups that participated in our survey. So we sincerely hope that this report will serve as both as a beacon and a practical toolkit for the young pioneers of creative economies, students, entrepreneurs, startup founders, and that it empowers them to build a better world through their innovative and entrepreneurial visions. The world is yours, please act. And yes, let us give you a quick recap of the reports part. The first part provides a general overview of the Swiss creative industries, featuring academic articles and infographics that position Switzerland within the global creative economy. The second part focuses on creative tech startups in Switzerland, detailing their numbers and investment trends from 1985 to the present. The third part dives into each segment of creative tech, like art, fashion, music, cinema, advertising, and more, highlighting key players, events, and educational opportunities, which are essentially serving as a startup roadmap. The fourth part examines investment in Swiss creative tech startups, exploring the geography of international investors and focusing on local investors categorized by canton. The fifth part covers education and opportunities for developing a creative workforce, showcasing creative and technical universities, accelerators, and hubs, along with several significant case studies. Then the sixth part addresses the crucial aspect of any startup ecosystem, the opportunities for founders representing women and various minorities to realize their potential. Finally, the seventh part represents the results of our survey of Swiss creative tech startups, a summary of the entire report, and 12 practical proposals to make Switzerland more welcoming for creative tech startups. I should also mention that each section of the report is themed around an archetype associated with Switzerland, adding both practical and aesthetic value. Examples include the Hadron Collider, Tourbillon, Chocolate Milk, Edelweiss, or mountains. Not to mention that this report was created by our art director, Alexei Kohanov from Ukraine, and he was using the the tech products of our proud graduates from our last acceleration batch with Tezos, the platform called Digital Plus. So yes, and the significant value of the report lies in the interviews with the Swiss opinion leaders. We're happy to briefly present them to you. Uli Sieg, a renowned art collector and tech investor. Benjamin Bollman, the CEO of Swiss Snacks in Boston and New York. Rodrigo Esmela, Chief Commercial and Product Officer at Arkwell. Conrad for Grebel, business developer and co-founder at Sear Vision. Ryan Zurer, venture capital investor and art collector. Christoph Weckerle, director of the Zurich Centre for Creative Economies. Nathalie Pichard, the executive director and curator of the Art Tech Foundation. And finally, Mark Spiegler, cultural strategy advisor and former global director of Art Basel. Christoph.
Thank you, Denis, for this overview. I would like to add that the report also contains concrete proposals on how to further develop the creative tech ecosystem in Switzerland. At the back of the report, we present several recommendations that we ourselves will be promoting in the coming months. They cover areas such as education, collaboration, branding in the creative tech sector, and so on. So I think it's worth waiting until the end of this presentation in around 15 to 20 minutes.
Thank you, Christoph. So again, for those watching, you can find and download link in the video description, or use the QR code for direct access. So let's dive in. That was a brief overview of the report. Now we'll present each part separately through a main slides. Christoph, over to you.
Thank you. Well, the main question, if you launch a report on creative tech in Switzerland, is what is creative tech? And for this report, it was important for us to develop an accessible model of creative tech, because this is in line with the working methods of the Zurich Centre for Creative Economies and provides hopefully an efficient basis for further development. Here we see a visual with a series of circles. Let me explain. You see creative tech at the very center of this model. And creative tech is about the intersection of technology, capital, investment, and creativity. It needs these three elements. If it's only between technology and creativity, it's still art. It's not creative tech. To be more precise, technology, we see it in a beyond dimension. It's about evolving existing technologies in new contexts to create novel solutions. This is crucial. Then capital investment represents a business model that scales. It's often not about linear growth, but about flexible scaling up and scaling down. Mixing these elements, creativity and capital investment, is very familiar for Denis living in the US, a bit less familiar for us in Europe. And creative industries, creative actors represent for us the what-if attitude, talking about entrepreneurs who prefer to imagine the world as it could be rather than as it is. And then creative tech itself is made up of complex interfaces and is integrated into a wider ecosystem of inspiring places and infrastructures, which in turn are animated and used by creative people. These are the wider circle. So this was our model, and we tried to connect all the findings, all the analysis, always to this kind of model, to this definition of creative tech. Of course, we realize and recognize that this is a very dynamic field and things will change rapidly. That is why you also find in the report derivation of development over the last 20 years or so. You see creative tech at the end of this timeline. And with this report, we want to help shape future developments because it will change a lot in the future. This is for sure. And we have to be prepared. Maybe you can take over, Denis, for the next chapter.
Yes, thank you, Christoph. So the first part of the report describes general data on creative Switzerland. For instance, we have studied all the 26 cantons and identified the unique features of each in relation to the creative industries. Then you could also find a timeline highlighting key events in Switzerland's adoption of creative tech from the post-war period to the present. We call this slide the Swiss Creative Tech Startups Flywheel Why flywheel? Because it illustrates the flow of creativity in Switzerland from schools and entrepreneurs to startups and beyond, exemplified in real business sectors. So in the second part, we dive into the world of creative tech startups with numbers. Let me present them briefly and then explain. So we see we have found 277 startups in the Swiss creative tech ecosystem that represent 70% of the total number of Swiss startups. Swiss creative tech startups have, surprisingly for many, they have very high success rate, 26%. Successfully exited startups. And creative tech startups represent incorporations across 16 of 26 cantons. The total funding since 2095 was 1.75 billion, which is 13% of all the Swiss startups funding. And average funding of per startup was a bit more than 6 million, which is a bit more than the global trend for creative tech. From 2019 to 2023, the Swiss creative tech startups received 48 million funding of total capital raised. Of course, the best year was 2022, thanks to the Web3 expansion, totaling 20% of all-time funding. The investment in 2023 was quite modest, but we'll explain why it happened in the end of the report. So only 8% founded or co-founded Swiss creative tech startups by females, and 11% currently integrate AI technologies. And Zurich, as a canton and a city, hosts 52% of AI startups. All the mentioned figures are presented visually. So here we see that creative tech startups in Switzerland represent only 17% in numbers, but 13% in funding compared to all the Swiss startups. This slide represents the 4 links of the value chain that Swiss creative tech startups have chosen. Notably, 77% of investments went to production-focused startups, which is also a global trend. Yes, the art tech startups dominate the ecosystem in terms of the number of business entities, having 22% in numbers of incorporated startups. But when it comes to investment, the gaming segment leads, receiving 29% of the funds. Yes, this page again highlights M&A activities, very strong M&A activities among Swiss creative tech startups, with a success rate 3 times the global average for creative tech. The top 5 cantons account for 84% of startup incorporations and 91% of total investment, showing centralization in specific regions. AI startups, as we said, make only 11% of Swiss creative tech startups, but receive 23% of investments, aligning with global trends. So this in particular indicates Swiss AI startups are more resilient and stable, which attracts VCs. And again, women found 8% of Swiss creative tech startups, nearly half of the global trend only. In other Swiss sectors, for instance, women led 12% of startups. And we should admit, globally, female-led creative tech startups received 35% of investments, but in Switzerland, only 4%. So this indicates significant work is needed to support female founders. And the The last slide before handing over to Christoph. So yes, despite fluctuations, funding grew by 245% from 2019 to 2023, and the number of startups increased by 82%. Christoph, please take it away.
Thank you, Denis. So when part 2 is about numbers, quite dense and always related to global trends, chapter 3 of the report describes the key players, key initiatives and organizations in the Swiss creative tech ecosystem. Also, I would say for the first time, readers of the report on creative economy by the Zurich Centre for Creative Economies will recognize certain parallels. For creative entrepreneurs, policymakers, decision makers, investors, this is quite an exciting read, I would say. For young startups, it offers the opportunity to get a quick overview, to get an idea in very few time. And let me say a word on the design, because it's quite striking. Thanks again to the Fuelarts design team. They tried to show the tension between Switzerland's very traditional branding, talking about mountains, lakes, chocolate, and the possibilities of developing a new narrative that is more focused on creative tech. This is one of the topics we will mention later on. How can we work with this creative tech narrative when it comes to repositioning Switzerland globally? Yes, Denis, please.
Thank you, Christoph. So we are coming closer to one of the most anticipated parts of the report, which is about investors and their distribution. However, one addition is needed. It's about our methodology. So we've mentioned that in our report, but we find it needed to be pronounced now. So our methodology for market transparency relies on publicly available data from analytical platforms such as Crunchbase and PitchBook. So if your startup is not included into the report, it may be a question or whether you are transparent enough, or you need to update your corporate pages on those resources. So we are encouraging startups, and the same applies to investors, to pay more attention towards their public representation as soon as you want to be included in our report and other reports. It's the same with the public auction sales and the artists who want to get noticed. So let's get back to our presentation and the key numbers. Yes, the public data is we have 453 investors publicly participated, with traditional investors making up 71%, and 40% of investment rounds led by local Swiss investors. Here you can see that we identified 18 types of investors involved in deals with Swiss creative tech startups. Surprisingly, there are only few crypto investors. We'll explain that in the last chapter of the report. So this infographic partially answers the demand for Swiss startups among foreign investors, and foreign interest towards Swiss creative startups is also quite big. So among Swiss investors, local Swiss investors, individual investors are the most prevalent, representing 29% of investments. So this reflects strong private engagement and the principles, so-called principle of subsidiarity in Swiss citizenship. Christoph, the stage is yours.
Yes. Chapter 5 on opportunities. Emphasis once again that Switzerland has the perfect conditions for the development of a sustainable creative tech system. The high caliber educational institutions, research, institution, international research initiatives, and very well trained people. Again, also in chapter 5, you will find a lot of key figures because the report tries to get to the heart of the matter and make concrete statements that stimulate for the thought. And this is also the reason why in the report you will find very concrete examples. Here, for example, you have the digital initiative of the canton of Zurich. It's an initiative trying to bring together the canton, the universities of the canton of Zurich, 4 of them around the topic of digitalization and innovation. And the case describes a bit the challenges in doing so. You will also find in chapter 5 and all over the report quite a number of mappings. We always try to cover the whole of Switzerland, all the cantons. Here you see the education landscape when it comes to creative tech. There are further mappings related to technical universities, startup hubs, accelerators, and so on. So quite interesting information. And I like particularly very much this mapping. It shows the many possibilities for a student in the Swiss education system, how they can be employed or become entrepreneurs themselves, where ideas can be presented, where resources come from. And we hope that it's mapping like this that will refine in the near future the idea around creative tech in Switzerland and will help to further develop this initiative. Then I mentioned these that we are focusing on the different 26 cantons of Switzerland, and we did several things in this report you normally don't do in Switzerland. So we started comparing the cantons and ranking the cantons, because for someone living in the US, this is everyday life. Maybe Denis, you can give a short overview on this cantonal ranking we have on this page.
Yes, thank you, Christoph. We really reached one of the most controversial pages of the report, and there was even an internal joke between Fuelarts and Zurich Centre for Creative Economies about the barbarian approach, as we call it, barbarian views. I mean, the Americans or the company incorporated outside of Switzerland, how they approach the market, how they calculate the numbers, how they analyze it. Of course, all the statistics, all the data analysis is based on comparison. So we try to compare everything, but we have visualized not everything we had compared. And but we decided to publish this page because, for instance, we should start at least with something. So this is an experimental approach devised specifically for this report. And it's based on the research into the educational growth opportunities within Switzerland's canton tech sector. So this methodology will be further developed into a full-fledged rating system. But looking at this page, for instance, one may ask, where is Zug? Because many foreigners, many barbarians first think of this canton when they hear about Switzerland. However, Zug lacks top creative or tech universities, creative festivals, trade fairs. It's a startup friendly. It has a startup friendly tech system, a few nice co-working spaces, and one big blockchain summit. But it's not enough. So the rating reveals these gaps, which can be seen by many people. However, we're happy to say there are great improvements on the horizon because recently, 2 weeks ago, the canton of Zug announced that 39 million contribution over 5 years to the initiative called Blockchain Zug Joint Research Initiative. So this is a joint project of the University of Lucerne and Lucerne University of Applied Sciences and Arts. So it's all about education again, and we're happy that Zug now is strengthening its back with top universities. So it aims to make the Swiss Crypto Valley, which Zug strives to be an international center for blockchain research. I believe I've replied to your concerns and to the concerns of our audience. Christoph, so over to you, please.
Yes, the sixth section on sustainability and diversity addresses key issues in today's world. The list of specific programs for female entrepreneurs, Denis already mentioned this issue, is impressive. Nevertheless, the report shows that Switzerland has a deficit here and that we have to keep at it. This also applies to diversity. Research shows that it has a crucial influence on the development of innovation and that Switzerland has to work on it. Please, Denis, for the next chapter.
Thank you. Yes, the last chapter of the report, it's crucial not only to be heard, but also to listen. That's why alongside the official public data, we reached out to the startups themselves to gather their feedback, understand their concerns, and learn how they envision their future within the Swiss creative ecosystem. So startups responded to more than 30 questions, which you will find in the report yourself. Here are just a few of their answers. So 46% of startups see progressing after pitching as a key investment challenge. In other words, they pitch towards investors and then nothing happens. 69% of Swiss creative tech startups report a conservative business environment as the main local market challenge. And 62% of them are interested in creating a venture fund to invest in others. In other words, when they are asked, what will be your next step after the successful exit? Swiss startups say, we want to create a venture fund. We feel ready to invest in others. We feel we are ready in both networking opportunities, country opportunities, and our knowledge and our desire to lead. Okay. So but before we come to room for improvement, I should add that the survey identified two distinct groups of startups. So just distinct, very distinct. The first group can be characterized as conservative, and the second group is attuned to market shifts, open to innovation. Surprisingly, conservative startups are represented by very, very young founders who, for whom this is their first venture. And so-called open to innovation startups, flexible startups, are represented by the founders with previous experience, successful experience, 2-3 startups in a row, sometimes with very powerful exits. Interestingly, that members of the both groups harbor aspirations to create their own funds and manage other startups. And again, both groups recognize the importance of continued education, which is very important, and demonstrate a readiness to engage in learning opportunities. Now I'm ready to say, Christoph, the stage is yours, and please start the most important part of the report, room for improvement.
Yes, I have already mentioned in my introduction that we also made concrete suggestions for improvement, and this is exactly what we will describe now. The suggestion number one, from a nation of reports to a hub of collaboration. This is, in my eyes, an interesting observation by the Fuelarts research team who looked at Switzerland from abroad. They see our country as a nation that publishes high-quality reports, but tends to neglect the dimension of concrete cooperation between the various actors. So it's a bit more about doing things when we will further develop the creative tech ecosystem, I think.
Thank you, Christoph. I'm taking the stage. So number 2, enhanced intercantonal interaction. Let's put it simple. Creative tech startups have emerged in 16 of 26 Swiss cantons with investors from only 12. But each canton has unique cultural attributes that could foster cross-sector collaboration. So the concept of creative cities, earlier mentioned by Christoph, should encompass the entire nation, not just Zurich or Lausanne, to promote cultural and entrepreneurial exchanges. Christoph?
Yes, and we already know that entrepreneurship education at all levels and in all types of universities is central to the sustainable development of the creative economy and creative tech ecosystem. It's not rocket science. Nevertheless, Switzerland still has some catching up to do. This is at least what we found out in our analysis.
Thank you, Christoph. Investor education in high-risk ventures, which is creative tech as well. So educating investors on high-risk investments is crucial, and we should offer lectures, master classes, and roundtable discussions with experienced investors like Ryan Zurer. We should introduce these initiatives gradually with with investors, and that should align with their strategies, with the needs of the creative sectors.
Thank you, Danny. So education really on all levels. Another important fact is that we should now consistently use the term creative tech, just as we introduced the term creative industries in Switzerland 20 years ago. In this way, we can continue to professionalize this interesting interface. It needs a name.
I totally agree with you, Christoph. So Swiss creative tech startups have a 26 success rate. We've noticed, we've mentioned that for 3 times already. But at the same time, this success rate lacks international exposure. So success stories often remain remain within the national borders. In that case, we should establish media channels to broadcast these achievements globally. Christoph?
Okay, so the next recommendation connects somehow to this global perspective. It's another interesting, I would say, external observation by Fuelarts. The WEF system, with its annual flagship event in Davos, already focuses on many of the topics described in the Creative Tech Report Switzerland. So it would be an important lever for Creative Tech Switzerland if closer cooperation were possible here. Let's find out whether this is possible.
Yes, I can add that the most prominent guests, one of the most welcome guests in Davos are artists, but they represent the creative industry. So, but those guests should also include startups and creative tech investors. So, integration with brand strategies, right? Swiss brands aim to, as well as global brands, they all aim to connect with Generation Z and Generation Alpha through creative engagement. So creative tech startups should help brands appeal to younger demographics and integrate these strategies into their business models for better market fit. So more integration with brand strategies, they will be a part of your exit strategy.
Okay, number 9 is a very traditional one. We all know that Switzerland, with its federalist, decentralized tradition, has a tendency to form silos, but this should definitely not be the case when it comes to the interfaces between technology and creativity. So this report provides good examples of how the exchange between these fields can be made even more successful. For example, between medtech and gaming and so on.
Thank you, Christoph. We're close to the end of our recommendations, but we have found that despite rich applications in various sectors, there is no platform for creative graduates. For instance, there is SBB, the railway system of Switzerland, that can deliver people from one canton to another in minutes or several hours. But what will be the destination point? The SBB has its own app, but the creative industry doesn't. So it will deliver to where, to which hubs, to which events. So in our opinion, a dedicated app for connecting creative and technical professionals is needed. And it won't be just an event app. It will be the tool that foster team formation, track industry events, and guide towards competitions and investors, merging the three pillars of creative tech: venture capital, tech, and creative industries. Christoph?
Thank you. So one element which could appear in this app is the Creative Tech Performance Index, because we believe that the development and the annual publication of such an index would be an interesting driver for the development of the Swiss tech ecosystem and its international positioning. And we will announce later on how Fuelarts and Zurich Centre for Creative Economies will work on this topic in the future.
Yes, thank you, Christoph, and that's a great responsibility, a great challenge for Fuelarts, but we were happy to start doing this job, and it's in progress now. Yes, creation of a specialized investment syndicate, this room for improvement purpose comes from both our observations and the needs of investors and the needs of the startups. So the Swiss investment landscape trusts with local startups, but overlooks creative tech due to limited visibility. In our opinion, a dedicated investment syndicate for creative tech would bridge that gap. That would also promote better information flow and stronger relationships between investors and startups. And Fuelarts and the Zurich Centre for Creative Economies are ready to discuss that with the potential interested parties. That was the final 12th purpose for room for improvement. Let me quickly mention everyone who participated in creation of I was responsible for a bit of analytics. Content and research on behalf of Fuelarts were provided by Olena Yara and Daria Rzhavtseva. The strategic advisory, the contribution from the Fuelarts side from Roxana Zarnigar, our co-founder Jeff Eshelman, our head of investment relations, Agnieszka Cichocka, head of acceleration programs, then the part of Zurich Centre for Creative Economies, Roman Page, Claudio Boucher, and Philippe Katsopoulos. So the social media provided by Olena Yara, Yana Barkova was responsible for SMM media, and the design, as I said, was created by our art director, Alexei Kukhanov, using the Phygital Plus platform. we inspire everyone to use it as well to get such amazing design results. Christoph, what will be next?
Yes,
What will be next?
we have quite clear perspective, because the report says that we have too many reports in this country and we need more doing. So we would like to dedicate our annual Creative Economies Forum this year to the topic of creative tech. And the idea is to take this report now as a starting point and to work during 2 days, 1 day and a half on the Creative Tech Manifesto. So it would be a next step. We would like to have a series of roundtables around topics described in the report, to focus more, to drive them into the next phase, and to come out at the end of this forum with a version number 1 of the manifesto, while Fuelarts and Zurich Centre for Creative Economies will write now the version 0 of this manifesto. So save the date. You also see at the web page, you will find there the information about Creative Economies Forum 23. Quite soon there will be more information about ZEF 24. So this is the next steps, the next ideas we have, and we try to push forward this idea of creative tech in this country, in Switzerland. Yes, that's all from my side.
Thank you, Christoph. I would, for sure, we'll do our best to create to contribute to this event as much as we could. I mean, on behalf of Fuelarts, and see each other in September. But before that, don't forget to download the report using this QR code or the direct links, which are in the description or in the comments of our stream. So and let's proceed to the Q&A mode. We have several questions. First of all, Jorge, thank you, Jorge from Beat Basel. Yes, Olu. These are my favorite parts of the report, infusing the beauty cinemas with Switzerland into design. Absolutely creative. Very detailed report. Thank you, Olu. And the question from Olu: what do you think are the factors responsible for the low numbers of investment for female founders? May I start, Christoph?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So as we mentioned, one of our findings was that we have found two distinct startups, versions of startups: conservative and open to innovation. I'm sorry to say that according to our studies, the most female-led startups in the creative tech ecosystem belong to the conservative startup environment, which means the conservative way towards fundraising, the conservative way towards pitching. So we believe that establishing more transparency and establishing more education courses on creative entrepreneurship, and also focused on female entrepreneurship, would bridge that gap. But also, I can't say that this is the consequence of the report, but my personal vision is why young startups, they are conservative, because they are looking at the conservative business environment like into the mirror. So they just take their habits, they just wear their habits, they try their habits. I believe it's quite artificial. So we'll do our best to empower all kind of startups and all genders of founders with the right, with, of course, with the help of Zurich Centre for Creative Economies, with the right knowledge about how to evolve in this market.
Maybe I can add, Denis, that one of the benefits of this report is just to highlight this fact, because there are very relevant, powerful investors in Switzerland pushing female initiatives, and I had dinner with one 2 days ago. So as soon as they know that there is time to take action, I think this will start. So the creative tech ecosystem might be ready in Switzerland for this endeavor. Yeah.
Another question, better say observation from Olu, that the International Finance Corporation director during the tour to Africa mentioned the need for the IFC to support Nigeria's creative industry as an emerging sector contributing to GDP. Right. And again, the greater engagement with Davos and the World Economic Forum will be a major step in this area. Thank you all for your support, and we're happy to. It might be a misconception. So I agree with Denis and Christoph, I should say, to have more engagements and education. Thank you, all. We are proceeding to the other questions. Please feel free to ask them in your comments to our either LinkedIn or Twitter X live stream or YouTube. So we'll devote 8 minutes. But I say we'll be happy to devote 8 more minutes to your questions. We fully understand that you might be drawn into the report since you downloaded it. So you're engaged in that process. Christoph, since we're waiting for the questions, what else could we mention maybe as very, very closing remarks?
Yeah, I think that for me, I started my introduction by saying that 20 years ago, we published a report on creative industries in Switzerland. And a report is the perfect format to put something on the agenda. And now we should really change into the next mode. We have this report, we can produce next reports in next year and so on, but it's about building a community around and starting with very concrete initiatives. And that is this idea of working on a manifesto, which is more related to the process and to the final product. So it's I think that it should be possible to build this community of young people and also experienced people to really move forward this initiative. And in the end, this will be a huge benefit for Switzerland on different levels. I would say we mentioned the narrative of this country, which could be shifted a bit. We mentioned that there is room for more cross-disciplinary collaborations, and creative tech could be a very fascinating layer where these things could happen. So for me, it's a new approach to this country, like we did it 20 years ago with creative industries. And I'm very much motivated to work further in this field, also with Fuelarts, I must say.
Thank you, Christoph. We have a question from Sandra. I assume Sandra is a female founder of a creative tech startup. What exactly do you mean by conservative strategy? That's a very good question, and we'll start our transparent education course with a large-scale article about the conservative strategy and openness towards innovations. But to put it short, it's about the changing rules of the storytelling. The changing rules of the storytelling while pitching, the changing rules of the fundraising strategy, which moves from cold approach towards warm intros and other networking possibilities. So also we should mention that, yeah, the whole strategy of even acceleration and the knowledge that startups received in most accelerators, it has to be revised, because the most part of the accelerators are based on the concept of the batches, which was adopted in early 2010s, or better say 2004, when the Y Combinator emerged. So since that, the Web3 emerged, but the concept of the startup batches remained the same. So I would say the keyword is storytelling that you should deliver towards investors. And when I say about flexibility as the opposite part of conservative strategy, I mean, the startup shouldn't be afraid to dive into untapped industries, to mix the strategies, to go through TAM, SAM, or better say production, trade management, and analytics, links of the value chain or traditional business models into something new, to experiment, to mix biotech and creative tech, to mix robotech and art tech, because the future is in the intersection of those untapped industries. But please wait until our article is released. We have the time for one more question. Maybe, sorry, Christoph, I didn't ask you. Maybe you wanted to add something.
No, that's fine. Let's listen to more questions. Yeah.
What is the best way for a creative tech startup or business in Nigeria to partner with one in Switzerland? That's a great question. I mean,
well, you mentioned, Denis, that there is a need for building some platforms where building a community. Maybe this will have changed in next year. But the first step now, after having released the report, is take the report, and there is a section where we mention the already existing networks, the already existing platforms, and you always can get back to Zurich University of the Arts, to our center, if you don't find the information in the report, and we will be working on it for the years to come to have a more professional platform for people interested from abroad in creative tech from Switzerland.
Yeah, thank you, Christoph. Briefly replying to the question of Raknida, as soon as there is no direct bridge yet between Switzerland and Nigeria in creative tech terms, you should look for some kind of the third party or intermediary. So we'll be happy if you send your request, direct request, and your interest, being a Nigerian startup or a Nigerian founder, to Fuelarts or the Zurich Centre for Creative Economies, and we'll try to match your expectations with the number of startups which we know from the Swiss creative tech scene, and later on with the with the readiness of the special app, it would be much easier to communicate. So it should be like LinkedIn for creative tech. But the instruments are yours. I mean, it's all transparent. You can go to PitchBook, Crunchbase yourself and sort the startups, sort them according to their geography, and contact them yourself. And the last question of the year: any periodic collaborative initiatives or sponsored events in Switzerland to foster cross-border partnerships from other climes? I would say you should. There are several initiatives, and you'll find them inside the reports on the page with in chapter 3, which has a chocolate flavor. But regarding cross-border partnerships, we'll be happy to devote the special panel at the new forum, which Christoph mentioned in September 2024, because it's a very interesting topic, and now we have a lack of such events which put together brands and startups, or startups from different unexpected spheres. Yes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for being with us today. We are leaving you with the report. Please study it. Please dive into it. Please explore and get value from it. And don't hesitate to get back to us with the proposals how to improve it, how to improve the next edition, because we're always very happy to hear any kind of feedback, because this is growth. Christoph?
Yeah, I just wanted to say again that you are all invited to our September event. Check the website soon, where you will find a program, and it's more about working on strategies than on listening to. There might be some experts from other countries, but it would be about generating a community and some shared initiatives in order to move forward this creative tech scene in Switzerland. Yeah, this is what I will start preparing now.
Thank you, Christoph. Again, thanks to you, we made this report, and thanks to the partnership between the Zurich Centre for Creative Economies and Fuelarts. More reports to come, more events to come. Please feel free to visit the Fuelarts and the Centre's websites, where we devote a special page for the updates in the creative tech industry in Switzerland. We already have their 8 news since we received the final version of our report. So we are keeping an eye on what's going on, and please feel free protected, at least from the academic and research side. Yes. Thank you, and see you during our events and online. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye.